We all understand the type of climate that we're dealing with. We're dealing with multiple offer situations.
I'd love to know sort of what's your why? What makes you tick? Why are you so successful?
Have a dialogue with your lawyer. Have a dialogue with your agent.
Both sort of passionate about sort of what we do.
Again, vet your agent to make sure that they're experienced and they're local. I like that idea.
No excuse to miss it on Saturdays from 8 to 9.
That's right.
WBZ.
And now, the show that gives you the latest and most relevant housing market news. Real Estate Radio Boston with financial expert Rick Scherer and legal professional Ali Alavi.
What are we featuring this week?
This week we are looking at Animoto, Animoto, and it is a really simple app, but what it does is it takes any photos that you have in either your phone, your iPad, or online, and quickly turns them into a great video content that you can share online, on your social media, without needing any kind of technical expertise or expensive equipment.
All right, so it's basically an animated slideshow. Is that a good characterization?
It is. To put it simply, yes, but what in the last couple of years, what they've really done is amped it up with the addition of lots of different musical tracks, lots of different editing features that they take care of for you. So it's much better than just the typical photos and slideshow. So it's a great opportunity if you just bought a property or you've just moved in and done some work to your property. Instead of just sending a link to all these photos or even just a slideshow that's animated.
Now, one of the issues that we wanted to focus on was obviously we're dealing with an aging population.
Correct.
All over the states.
Right.
And there are certain challenges associated with dealing with aging populations when it comes to condos. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you've seen and some of the solutions that perhaps we can offer to the listeners?
Well, this is one of the most troubling problems that we're facing in condominiums, as you know, and as you've alluded to. The condominiums, for some reason, attract people, and I'm going to be a little bit harsh here and say sometimes attract children of aging parents, in that the children will purchase the unit and, for want of a better phrase, will dump their parents there.
Wow.
Condominiums are not nursing homes. They are not assisted living facilities.
Right.
And there is some sort of misperception that if we put mom and dad in this condo, yes, their lawn will be cut. Yes, the snow will be plowed. All of those things will be taken care of, but not their medical and mental needs. And that is so important to understand, because our clients and the property managers who work for our clients are faced with terrible problems as a result. What do you do if mom is wandering the hall at night? What do you do if mom or dad locks themselves out of their unit and doesn't even know where their unit is? And of terribly grave consequences that we see, what if mom or dad falls asleep with the stove on, or wanders into another room and doesn't realize they've left the stove on? It becomes a safety issue for the entire building, not just to mom and dad.
Sure.
So at some point, people have to realize that, as their parents start to maybe start forgetting things. I think people need to understand that you have to take that next step. Maybe having someone come in, maybe not necessarily leave them out of, but maybe 24-hour care or, care inside the condo unit. But when they get to a certain point, they need that next step and they need that assisted living.
Now, Frank, what is a board to do? So what are some of the things, some of the tools that's available to boards and management companies in order to really manage these types of issues?
Well, from a management point of view, you want telephone numbers, you want contact information. So if there's an issue there, you want people that can knock on the door like the second or third day if you haven't heard from them or seen them in the area, the common areas, whatever. Also, sometimes we're dealing with the possibility of establishing guardianships or powers of attorney.
Gotcha.
Okay. We've got a case now in Rhode Island where the mother has got severe dementia. The kids don't want to deal with it at all. So we're going into court, a probate court in Rhode Island, to establish a guardianship.
Exactly.
Wow, so it's a systemic problem, obviously.
Right.
So if you're a board out there, or you're an association out there, or you're a management company out there in charge of a condo association, you really ought to reach out to Goodman, Shapiro and Lombardi.
Right.
Now, one of the things that we've seen, we've talked about this in the past. Rick and I wanted to highlight this on this show today. Individuals that have gone through a home inspection with Walsh Home Inspections. You guys identify certain issues with regards to a property. I may not think it's that big of a deal. We try to sort of look the other way. We own the property now. 2-3 years later, this thing is now essentially blown out. Do you recommend for the home inspector to go back to the home to be able to reevaluate the home before I even start doing any kind of maintenance to the house? What do you think?
I think that a lot of times, particularly first-time home buyers, when they buy their first home, they go into it and they're all excited and revved up to go in and do all those improvements that, one, they have in mind, but also, two, that are cited in the initial home inspection report. And then a lot of times life gets in the way. People get busy with work, or they have children, or a combination of the two. And those sort of things don't get done. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they start off as a small item, but then left, on their own for 2 or 3 years, something could grow from a small problem to a larger problem. Mm-hmm. We're seeing an increased interest in people who are proactively calling us and saying, "Hi, you guys were here a couple years ago. We realized we just found your inspection report in a drawer.
Gotcha.
We didn't do any of this. Could you come back and take a look at the house and tell us what the current condition is?"
I like to think that everybody's going to do the list of things that I come up with for them on their house, but reality is, somebody will see a little bit of rotted trim on the exterior of like a window, and they're like, "Oh, it's a little bit of rotted trim. I can put in a new sink in the bathroom." So they do that. That little rot over a couple years with the current materials that are available can go from a piece of rotted trim to now part of the framing of your house is rotted out. So it's easy for me to come back and kind of pinpoint these things for these people again. Whereas if you have a contractor come in, a lot of them are very good, very honest people, but sometimes they might overinflate what needs to be done versus what should be done.
We're dealing with a very competitive market. Sellers want to close yesterday.
Right.
They want to have high level of confidence in the buyer's ability to be able to close, get their commitment, and close on time. But they also want to be able to shorten the time frame. Are there certain challenges that you're seeing with respect to other lenders? Are you getting sort of buyers that are coming from other lenders to you?
Here's what's happening is a lot of clients want to close within 2, 3, 4 weeks. And they want to show that to a seller that they can close quickly and they can get their mortgage commitment quickly. So, there's some big mortgage companies out there that are saying we can't close you unless it's 45 to 60 days out.
Wow.
Well, guys, that's not working anymore. You can't wait for 30 days after your signing of your purchase and sale for your mortgage commitment because there's a cash buyer nipping at your heels that's going to blow you out of the water.